The case to invade Iran. Let's check it out. Welcome to Rob Schmitt Tonight. Unquestionably, Donald Trump made a name for himself 10 years ago by attacking the neocons, politicians who had enriched the deep state and squandered trillions of our dollars and wealth on regime change, forced democracy missions around the world. When Trump bulldozed his way through the Republican primary in 2016, he sounded like this.
Obviously, the war in Iraq was a big, fat mistake. We spent $2 trillion, thousands of lives. We don't even have it. Iran is taking over Iraq. George Bush made a mistake. We can make mistakes, but that one was a beauty. We should have never been in Iraq. We have destabilized the Middle East.
A moment like that, a star was born. The Bush dynasty collapsed. The Republican Party has not been the same since. So tonight, you can't blame Americans for asking, and a lot of them are, why did we just invade Iran? Well, the answer appears to be quite complex. Let's first remember that Iran did try to assassinate President Donald Trump in 2024. A reminder for those claiming that this regime is only a nuisance in the Middle East and has nothing to do with the United States. They tried to kill the guy that was going to be the next president of the United States. In addition, one thing we know, Trump is trying to reshape the world to America's advantage and use this brief 4 years of American strength and fortitude, which we don't always have anymore, as we just learned in the last 4 years, to use that to dramatically weaken our adversaries and set America up for a prosperous and safe future. That was the point of Venezuela. Remove the China-Russia foothold from our hemisphere, from a short flight from Florida, get that out of here, and ensure and secure that their energy is for us instead of for our enemies. Iran was next. It was a very similar plan. It was a very similar agenda. Again, the Armada was sent in. But Iran did not capitulate. Instead, a regime that's already killed many, many Americans and has promised to destroy the United States and the West for decades, instead, they murdered thousands of their own people and made it very clear they intend to continue down a very dangerous path, explained today by our Secretary of State.
What they are trying to do and have been trying to do for a very long time is build a conventional weapons capability as a shield where they can hide behind, meaning there would come a point where they have so many conventional missiles, so many drones, and it can inflict so much damage that no one can do anything about their nuclear program. That is what they were trying to do, is put themselves in a place of immunity where the damage they could inflict on the region would be so high that no one can do anything about their nuclear program or their nuclear ambitions.
Good explanation there by Marco Rubio. And to be fair, the communications on this, the case for this, has not been the best made from the White House. It just hasn't been. But it's becoming clear, and I think it's starting to make a lot more sense to people today. Trump made it very clear in recent weeks. He is done leading a country that tap dances around a nation like Iran. Because how embarrassing has it been the way we've had to behave with Iran in recent years? Remember how Obama dealt with it and how Biden dealt with it? It's humiliating. On Saturday, Israel found the perfect moment when Iran's senior leadership all gathered to meet with the Ayatollah in Tehran. And Israel decided we're not going to wait any longer. And they struck. And it was a big strike. Trump and the Pentagon say they were forced to strike at the same time to dismantle the Iranian counterpunch, which were, of course, attacks on our nearby military bases that would have been far worse than the 6 dead that we currently mourn tonight. Now we finish the job, which the Pentagon says could take a month, which, of course, is feeding into a lot of anti-Trump narratives. And there's a lot of people out there, even on the conservative side, that are calling this ridiculous and saying this is regime change. Where is Donald Trump? Where did he go? His political adversaries calling it what they think it is, regime change. In reality, this is more like general maintenance. We blew up Iran's nuclear facilities. They refused to stop working toward a future nuclear holocaust for the West that they've been promising for a long time. So we end the threat now, because we've been dealing with this for a very, very long time. And how much longer are we going to behave like this? Take a listen. just because they don't yet have the ability to make good on that promise, and this is their Congress. Just because they don't yet have the ability to make good on that promise doesn't mean that we should just sit here and do nothing. And by the way, remember that every time Democrats get into power, they give those people billions and billions of dollars. So we've gotten lucky for a while. Should we press our luck and just continue to allow this? To allow a regime like this to operate? We have military bases all around them. We're learning that right now. We're seeing the impact of this. Just because they haven't gotten there yet with a nuclear program, just because their ballistics aren't intercontinental, just because they can't do it yet, do you want to just sit and wait until they can? Do you want Amy Klobuchar running our country when Iran finally gets there and decides to make its move? Take a listen to this.
An Iranian regime armed with long-range missiles and nuclear weapons would be an intolerable threat to the Middle East, but also to the American people. This was our last best chance to strike what we're doing right now and eliminate the intolerable threats posed by this sick and sinister regime.
For 47 long years, the expansionist and Islamist regime in Tehran has waged a savage, one-sided war against America. They did it through the blood of our people. Car bombs in Beirut, rocket attacks on our ships, murders at our embassies, roadside bombs in Iraq and Afghanistan.
So again, the communications on this getting better, a little bit clearer what really is going on here. There's a lot of people that vote for Donald Trump because he ends wars and he keeps our concerns domestic. He keeps our concerns inside the shores of this country. I think the case for this is that part of America First is making the world more America First, is ending a threat like this, which is chaotic. The reason that we need so many resources in the Middle East is because there is an Iran. So if you don't want to have bases full of soldiers all over the Middle East, you get rid of Iran. You could see a future where that is much less necessary. And a lot of those boys are home and not sitting in Qatar and Bahrain and Kuwait and these other places. There's a real goal at hand here that is strong and good and virtuous and important for this country, for the domestic goals of this country. This is not an administration that wants to burn all of the credibility they got in this last election. They don't want to light that on fire. They don't want to lose the midterms. They don't want to screw that up. This was not an easy decision to make, to go into Iran after what we saw in Iraq, after all the things Trump said about Iraq. There's clearly something that they needed to do here. And there's clearly an end game here that they see that is going to be very, very good for this country. What they're asking for is trust in doing it. Hegseth repeating today that this was fully the last option, what we're doing here, reminding us that diplomacy was given like 100 chances with Iran.
The former regime had every chance to make a peaceful and sensible deal. But Tehran was not negotiating. They were stalling, buying time to reload their missile stockpiles and restart their nuclear ambitions. Their goal, hold us hostage, threatening to strike our forces.
There you have it. We're going to be talking about this war all throughout the show, all throughout the week, and probably for a bit longer than that. Zach Anders is our Middle East correspondent in Tel Aviv tonight. He's been dodging missiles today in a city where Iranian and Hezbollah missiles have snuck through the Iron Dome, a number of them. Right, Zach?
Yeah, that's right. We just witnessed another considerable attack in the last hour. It was not just here. Kuwait, the UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, Jordan, and Saudi Arabia were the targets, according to Iranian state media. Now, we are just getting some breaking in the last 10 minutes that the U.S. Embassy in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, that a fire is inside the embassy compound after a reported Iranian attack. That's according to Reuters as we're watching that closely. Rob, the Israeli side here, as we were running from an object was coming out of the sky, and then it split into 24 smaller bright balls of light falling our direction overhead. That's when we were booking it to get to an underground shelter. We've got a shelter here at our level, but that was a cluster munition, we believe, that was falling out of the sky. And those, once you do see that, after it reaches the terminal stage and starts to break apart into much smaller warheads, there is really no air defense system on Earth that can intercept all of those smaller objects when it becomes a cluster munition here. As we're watching the historic success of this campaign on day 3, the Israelis are telling us that they believe they've taken out dozens of those mobile missile launchers. They think maybe more than 100 left. Once those mobile missile launchers are out of the game, their remaining ballistic missile stockpile in Iran is going to be pretty worthless. They'll have no way to actually fire those at any of these regional states or here in Israel. Rob?
Zach, stay safe. Israel has so much on the line here. This is such an important war for them to finally rid the world of this cancer that exists in Tehran, this regime that has destroyed a lovely country and all the damage they have done. Zach, thanks so much. We want to dig into now this war with some experts. Alan West is a retired Army Lieutenant Colonel with some great information on this war. Congressman Pat Fallon also with us, Air Force veteran, member of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. Gentlemen, good to have you both here. Colonel West, I want to start with you. Trump and Hegseth today both saying that they need to effectively neutralize Iran. That is the goal, to neutralize Iran's ability to stir the chaos that they have done for so long. A look at our progress here, 1,250 targets struck in Iran. You've had 11 Iranian ships struck and destroyed, 49 leaders killed, ballistic missile sites, air defense systems hit. My first question to you is, how are we doing in this fight, and how long do you think this will take to achieve the goals that the president and the war secretary laid out?
Well, I'll tell you, you have to be pretty, astonished by what has been able to happen in these, first 3 days. The decapitation of their leadership. We continue to reduce the ability for them to launch their ballistic missiles. And of course, when you have complete air dominance over Iran, that means that anytime they fire a ballistic missile, we can easily come vector in an aircraft and take out that launcher. And that was another one of the reasons why we saw those B-2 bombers come from the United States, was to take out some of those underground stockpiles. We are eliminating their Iranian Revolutionary Guard naval forces, and that means that we will not have any threats to the Straits of Hormuz. So I think that you will continue to see a conditions-based operation, not a time-based operation, so that we can make sure that the capability, the military capability capacity of Iran to, fire missiles and such against our bases, and also against some of those Gulf Cooperation Council countries, the GCC countries, which has really upset them and further isolated Iran. I think those are some very incredible goals. Who would have ever thought that these Arab nations will be standing up so strongly and condemning what has happened with Iran? And I think that is a great thing to happen at this point.
The diplomacy is brilliant. The way the Gulf Arab states are all behind the United States, and the way Iran is just so isolated. They are just on an island where everybody now finds them to be a pariah, which is the perfect way to take this on. Congressman, I guess my question for you is that, right now, Iran is just shooting off chaos every which direction it can find, and so is Hezbollah. How much longer will it look like this, and how much longer will it be until Iran is, much more neutered than they are right now, and to where we can really just, we can do our job without having to worry about all of this collateral damage?
Well, Rob, it seems like they have no rhyme or reason for their strategy right now because of the decapitation that the Colonel talked about. When 49 of their top leaders have been taken out, they're seemingly just shooting off willy-nilly, and they're helping us strategically with their tactical actions. They are compelling. They're taking their Gulf neighbors and throwing them into our arms, and those Gulf states are very angry. It's another thing to point out too, Rob, is have we taken any hostile action in Venezuela after we nabbed Maduro? And we haven't, because that leadership now is working with the United States. They're not being hostile. They're saying, you know what, China, Russia, we don't want to work with you anymore. And Cuba, hit the bricks. We don't need it. And that's what we expected and wanted from the Iranian regime after we struck their nuclear facilities last year. But these morons decided that they were going to commit more. They're going to double down on their ballistics missiles. They weren't going to give up their enriched uranium. And that's when President Trump said, okay, enough. We're going to have to strike, and we're going to strike now.
Yeah. Colonel West, one final question. The Hegseth today really pushed back forcefully on the idea of regime change and another long, drawn-out war. He doesn't want to be associated with anything like that. What's your prediction, and do you think that is there a risk for the administration that this thing does Do they lose control, that they could potentially lose control and it could become a serious liability?
I don't think it will become a serious liability. A lot of people are saying that about Venezuela, and so far things are going quite well. One of the important geopolitical things that is happening, and you kind of alluded to it in your monologue, is that we're peeling back another layer of the onion of the 21st century axis of evil. We've gotten Venezuela out of the way. And remember, there are direct flights between Tehran, Iran, and Venezuela back when Mahmoud Ahmadinejad and Hugo Chavez were in power. So I think that this is not going to be like Iraq. I served in Iraq. I was in Afghanistan also for 2.5 years. We're not talking about nation building. We're not talking about going in there and creating some democratic institutions. We're talking about setting the conditions, which is what my dear friend Pat Fallon talked about, so that the Iranian people can determine their future. And I think that that's what you are seeing them plan. But they cannot have a future unless you get rid of that capability, capacity for the Iranian regime to inflict harm. And that means we cannot have any more mullahs, ayatollahs, or hardliners in the lead of that country.
I got to leave it there, guys. Alan West, Colonel, thank you so much. Congressman Pat Fallon, good to see you too. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Rob. God bless.
All right.
Gotta keep you.
Truly mind-bending reactions have come in here in the West on Iran. The abortion-celebrating pink-haired lefties are furious as millions of women are freed from an oppressive religious regime. Try to figure that one out. Plus, later in News from the Left, the Washington Post mourns the death of arguably the most evil man alive. All coming up.
Charlie was the best of America, and the monster who attacked him was attacking our whole country.
Before Charlie Kirk died, he issued a stark warning of terrifying dangers ahead in a new book, Pagan Threat, authored by Pastor Lucas Miles. Charlie said Pagan Threat could save America and that you must read it. Get Pagan Threat free with Newsmax's special offer. Plus, get Dick Morse's new book, The Real Charlie Kirk. 2 great books with our free offer today.
As a neurologist, my patients are often concerned with age-related memory decline. I recommend Cunol Brain Health with 2 powerful, high-absorption ingredients clinically shown to improve memory, focus, attention, and more. Cunol, the brand I trust.
Hi there, I'm Dean Heskin, President and CEO of Swiss America. Most investors believe their IRA, 401k, and bank accounts are reliable and safe. But what if our economy becomes so dire that you're restricted from accessing your own money? The fact is that should your bank be in trouble for holding bad loans, the burden could fall on you to help bail them out. Even more concerning is that U.S. financial regulations allow banks to impose withdrawal limits on your hard-earned savings. But there's something you can do about it. Our team at Swiss America has a report called The Secret War on Cash. Learn how to protect yourself with assets that can remain outside the control of banks and other financial institutions. For over 40 years, Swiss America has been one of the most trusted metal firms in the country. So don't wait. Call or text the number on your screen today for financial peace of mind in these uncertain times.
Why are so many dogs dying before their time? In my experience, great health starts with great food. That's why I created Badlands Ranch Superfood Complete. It contains powerful canine superfoods that directly support your dog's digestion, skin and coat, mobility, and so much more.
And it's air dried. That means cooked low and slow, no high heat.
We have thousands of 5-star reviews. And for a limited time, get up to 50% off with our special TV offer. Go to badlandsranch.com/TV. That's badlandsranch.com/TV.
Our family started Cane Brew with a dream and a lot of hard work. Now we're thriving, growing, and hiring. Artificial intelligence has made all the difference for our business. We're a case study for how AI is strengthening American manufacturing. Washington needs to help AI flourish. It's vital to our economic security. We cannot let China dominate these technologies. America must innovate and win. Let's protect our competitive edge.
My life was constantly interrupted by pee breaks, day and night, until I found Eucora's In Control. It's an herbal supplement that reduces my urgency, leaks, and nighttime bathroom trips. I was at the end of my roll, but now I'm in control. Try today at Eucora.com.
Iran's formerly supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, is dead. The voices of the Iranian people could be heard cheering and celebrating in the streets when his death was announced.
The state-run media guy crying over the Ayatollah might be the best part of that montage. Iranians around the world are celebrating, hoping that this is really the end of a regime of Neanderthals that have controlled 90 million people by the Quran for 47 years. Now, before this country was destroyed by Islam, it looked like this. I mean, the videos of Iran back in the day are just unbelievable. Tehran looked like Los Angeles, Western fun, educated women, a whole different world. Isn't that amazing to see? It is surreal in this moment watching the American left that claims to be all about personal liberties and freedom furious over this regime's collapse. Clueless left-wing politicians like Gavin Newsom and Zoran Mamdani are getting hammered for their response to Trump's strikes. Newsom claims it's an illegal and dangerous war, even though he's got the second biggest population of Iranians in his state in the world. Mamdani calling it a catastrophic escalation in an illegal war of aggression because Mamdani likes these theocratic Islamist regimes. If either of those two men attempted to push their outrageous American liberal agendas in Iran, they'd be decapitated in about 3 minutes. Isn't that funny? President Trump posting on Truth Social this evening about the radical left. The fact is, whatever I do, they'll be on the opposite side. These people are sick, crazy, and demented. I think they're certainly proving that. Elica Le Bon is an Iranian-American lawyer and human rights activist. Amir Fakhravar is an Iranian dissident who's been tortured by this regime for his activism. And to you both, thanks for coming on. Elica, I want to start with you. Your reaction to people like Gavin Newsom and people like Zoran Mamdani as Iranians celebrate.
I mean, it's really no surprise. Their reactions at this point are no surprise, because if you think about it, for the past couple of months that this terrorist regime has been slaughtering the people of Iran, the children of Iran, they said absolutely nothing. Zohran Mamdani had not a single thing to say. For the past couple of months, for the past year, he's been talking about, arresting Netanyahu, all of these war crimes. When he was asked a simple question, should Hamas lay down their weapons, he said he had no opinion. All of a sudden, the man who had all of the opinions had sudden amnesia. Of course, we knew where this was going. When the terrorist regime started massacring these protesters in the worst atrocity of our time, not a single tweet. The man of justice for all had not a single tweet. And the first time the humanitarians of our time opened their mouths after they've been Helen Keller for 8 weeks to speak, the first thing they say is that they're condemning the war on the terrorists that not only have been slaughtering the Iranian people, but that want to slaughter you in the United States of America, who have enshrined in their charter from its establishment in 1979, their objective to export the Islamic revolution across the Middle East and the rest of the world. And having named the people that are in the way of that, which is the great Satan and the little Satan, calling them the arrogant powers, establishing these proxies to eliminate them on the road to coming to kill you.
Yeah.
And now that there's a war for freedom, now's the time that you speak up. The mask has fallen off.
It's surreal. Amir, we got a little taste of maybe what the plan is from Pahlavi last night on 60 Minutes, but I want to ask you this. Once the bombings end and once Iran is hopefully fully neutralized in the coming weeks, what needs to happen inside of that country?
Thank you, Rob, for having me. Before going to answering this question, let's look at this frame. Put me out of this frame and look at yourself, the very handsome Iranian-American guy, Rob Schmitt, and look at that beautiful lady, Elica Le Bon. These are Iranians. These are Persians. Look at Ahmadinejad. Look at Khamenei, all the ugly animals who came to power in Iran. And we were ashamed even to tell the people we are Iranian because of these people. This is the real Iran, which everybody in the world are going to see it again. And let me tell you something about the Mamdani you said. Mamdani's ideology is exactly Khomeiни's ideology. When 47 years ago Khomeini came to power, Khomeini was a Shia, the 12 Imami, and Khomeini came with the promise of free house, free boss, free everything. And this is exactly Mamdani's, or let's call his last name correctly, Mohammedani, the Shia 12 Imami Muslim. These people, they liked each other. Yes, he is unhappy right now. But 100 million Iranians, 90 million inside, 10 million outside, we are happy. You mentioned about let's answer just as fast as I can your question. Yes, Prince Reza Pahlavi had 20-some% of the support. We respect those part of the monarchists in the country. But 70-some% of the country, we are for the Republic of Iran. Doesn't matter if it's a republic or it's a monarchy. My wife, my beautiful wife, Dr. Sana Zalasti, she is a monarchist. I'm a Republican. It's the problem between our family members. We will decide at the end what do we want, but it's important to have a constitution. The same as United States. Constitution in place, and then all of us can come together and build Iran from scratch again and be the greatest friend and ally of United States and Israel again.
Elica Le Bon, Amir Fakhravar, good to see you both. Thank you so much, guys. That was a good conversation. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. Our Mike Carter's been covering the president all weekend. He's back at the White House from Florida tonight. Mike, what is the latest?
Yeah, Rob, good evening. Tonight, the White House is saying the biggest wave of attacks on Iran has yet to begin, with President Trump today laying out a 4-point plan for Operation Epic Fury. Trump today saying destroying Iran's missile capabilities. That is a must. Secretary Rubio today saying Iran has been producing more than 100 ballistic missiles a month. Other objectives include annihilating Iran's navy, ensuring Iran can never have a nuclear weapon, and disabling Iran's terrorist proxies. Trump today saying decisive action is needed now to crush Iran's military ambitions before it's too late.
The regime already had missiles capable of hitting Europe and our bases, both local and overseas, and would soon have had missiles capable of reaching our beautiful America.
The hardest hits are yet to come from the U.S. military. The next phase will be even more punishing on Iran than it is right now. Someone was screaming, how long will it take? I don't know how long it'll take. We have objectives. We will do this as long as it takes to achieve those objectives.
Secretary of War Pete Hegseth saying today Iran is not Iraq, and this will not be an endless war. But the president saying today Operation Epic Fury slated to last 4 to 5 weeks with the capabilities of lasting longer than that, far longer than that. But Rob, as you just heard from Secretary of State Rubio there, the U.S. is prepared to achieve its objectives in Iran for as long as it takes.
Okay, Mike Carter, we appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right, a Senegali national wearing a Property of Allah sweatshirt and an Iranian undershirt shoots up a college bar in Austin, Texas. We've got Chip Roy up next, furious over immigration in this country.
War in America?
The president and the leadership at DHS, the leadership of the White House, Tom Homan, Stephen Miller, they know how critical it is right now. To save America, we have got to remove these dangerous individuals. This is all related. The radical Marxists, the radical Islamists, they want to remake America, and they want to allow other people to vote who are non-citizens. I'm the lead author of the SAVE Act to ensure that only citizens, American citizens, vote in American elections.
The House Freedom Caucus led the fight to pass the Save America Act, and President Trump is totally on board.
I'm asking you to approve the Save America Act to stop illegal aliens and others who are unpermitted persons from voting in our sacred American elections.
The House Freedom Caucus supports Chip Roy's bill. Call your senator and tell them to pass the Save America Act. Freedom Caucus Fund is responsible for the contents of this ad.
For more than 2 centuries, one idea has defined America. Democracy only works when informed citizens participate. Full PAC was founded for this moment, helping candidates reach voters, share their message, and engage communities nationwide. Full PAC has applied to begin trading on the NASDAQ under the reserve symbol GOTV, Get Out the Vote. Before trading begins, we are offering a limited number of shares to patriots like you at just $5 per share. This is a moment that won't last, an opportunity to invest not just in a company, but in the systems that support participation, engagement, and the future of the United States. Time is limited, so act now and position your portfolio ahead of the projected record spending in the 2026 midterm election cycle. Call the number on screen to invest now.
Total Beets, America's best-selling Beets brand, is available at Walmart. Total Beets blood pressure support soft chews contain a key ingredient clinically shown to deliver 2 times better blood pressure support. Take control of your health. Head to Walmart and get Total Beets blood pressure support soft chews today.
A heart attack? Do they have life insurance?
No.
But we have life insurance. John.
I'm trying to find something we can afford.
Fortunately, in only a few minutes, SelectQuote found John a $500,000 policy for only $29 a month. And his wife Anne a $500,000 policy for only $21 a month. Go to SelectQuote.com now and get the insurance your family needs
At a price you can afford. SelectQuote. We shop, you save.
Like a relentless weed, moderate to severe Crohn's disease symptoms can keep coming back. Break away to what's possible with Tremfya. With rapid remission at 12 weeks and fewer bowel movements and less abdominal pain at 4 weeks. Most patients achieve remission at 1 year, and some patients saw visible healing of the intestinal lining. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and TB. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Healing is possible with Tremfya. Backed by over 15 years of clinical research. Ask your doctor about Tremfya today.
The FBI is now investigating this evening a horrific and deadly shooting in Austin, Texas.
Potential links to international terrorism.
17 patients on the scene. 14 of those were transported to the hospital. 3 were pronounced dead.
This was a bar that was popular among college students.
Everyone was ducking for cover.
The gunman wearing a sweatshirt reading "Property of Allah."
An attack on the Middle East and a country full of third world migrants can be a very dangerous combination. 2 o'clock in the morning Sunday, Islamist gunman opens fire on a packed college bar in Austin, Texas. You saw the video. 2 college students killed. I'm amazed it wasn't worse, to be honest. 14 wounded, a 21-year-old female UT Austin student and a 19-year-old named Ryder Harrington from Texas Tech. Both killed. The gunman, 53-year-old Senegali national living in Texas, Ndiaga Diagne, drove to Buford's bar in Austin with a pistol, a rifle, and a Quran. He wore a Property of Allah sweatshirt. His undershirt also had a picture of the Shah on it, as you can see from his corpse. CBS News reports the shooter had photos of Iranian leaders at his home in Pflugerville. Texas Congressman Chip Roy joins us now. The man had been here for 25 years, Congressman. Your reaction to this and what it says about our immigration system?
Well, first of all, not all legal immigration is good. No. And in fact, we need to pause our immigration system. It's why I introduced the PAUSE Act in November. I'm frankly sick and tired of it. As one expert on this subject matter said to me today, we're all full. The boat's all full. Let's take a step back and let's recalibrate where we are, because we have Americans right now who are not with us, who are dead. My fellow Texans, the kid you just talked about from Texas Tech, a UT student. We have another UT student who's not expected to make it, being pulled off life support probably in the next 24 hours. We have other UT students who were shot, seniors who were planning to finish out their spring and then graduate, all because we have somebody who was let into our country under tourist visa, overstayed the visa, then got a legal permanent residency on the back of a marriage that later probably went kaput because he then got citizenship under Obama in 2012 and then applied to get 2 other women separately in as marriages on the back of his citizenship, and then was arrested in 2022, to the best of my knowledge, for a hit and run. This is the broken immigration system in full display. We import third world Islamists who want to destroy our country, undermine our Judeo-Christian values, get out there on social media, show up to a bar with a Quran in the car, an Iranian shirt, a Property of Allah sweatshirt, and then shoot up American citizens whose great-grandparents and great-great-great-grandparents fought and died and bled for this country. Enough. We need to freeze it all right now.
And we have a mosque inside of this country, at least one mosque that is mourning the Ayatollah and is showing outrage and aggression towards the country that it's operating inside of for this action in Iran. You have a religion, you have a book that is interpreted by many to condone violence in pursuit of the goals of that book. I mean, this is not a Western religion. Everybody keeps telling us that most Muslims are peaceful. That might, in fact, be true, but it doesn't change the fact that they won't condemn how dangerous this book can be interpreted. I don't see anybody doing that, and that's a very dangerous thing.
In the 25 years since 9/11, our country has done the unthinkable, which is open the floodgates to people coming here from predominantly Muslim countries where Islamists are able to carry out the Muslim Brotherhood's plan, which they put forward in a memo in 1991, that they've been carrying out to perfection, aligned with CARE, aligned with at least 600 groups operating in this country, including Texas. You now have 300 mosques in Texas, more mosques going in Texas every year than any other state in the union. They want to turn Texas into Paris and to the United Kingdom. And I ask you a question. Think about this. Are you as concerned as I am about a nuclear United Kingdom or a nuclear France? Like, we're worried about the president is fighting Iran, saying we can't have a nuclear Iran. I agree. God bless you, Mr. President. Let's stop it. But what are we going to do when you have an Islamic United Kingdom? They're already nuclear. What are we going to do when you have an Islamic France? We can't let that happen to America. They're trying to do it, and they're exercising their playbook.
I got 10 seconds left. You're running for Attorney General, state of Texas, to replace Ken Paxton as he runs for Senate. Why are you the man?
Well, because you need somebody who will stand up and fight like I just outlined and stand up against the Islamist movement. You need somebody who's been in a courtroom. You don't need a Johnny-come-lately who needs to be trained on the job. I've been a prosecutor and put bad guys in jail. I've been the first assistant attorney general. I'm a proven fighter, a proven warrior. Vote tomorrow, chiproy.com. Let's get this done.
Congressman Chip Roy, good to see you, sir. Good luck tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. God bless.
All right. Back to Iran up next as we discuss what the Middle East and the world could look like after the end of this horrific regime.
Go ahead. Crank the volume. We got you. USPS has increased daily package processing capacity by 46% in the past 5 years. And with USPS Ground Advantage, your packages stay in our secure network, dock to door, nationwide. For full visibility, near real-time tracking, affordable pricing, for peace of mind. USPS Ground Advantage.
My heart has experienced life-changing wins, losses, and countless miles. To keep living at my speed, I trust Cunol CoQ10. CoQ10 is the #1 cardiologist-recommended supplement for heart health. Cunol, the brand I trust.
This is Fubo. It's a better way to watch ESPN and other top sports networks. Plus, get coverage of your local teams all year long. Start watching at FuboTV.com.
To a hacker, your tax return isn't just paperwork, it's a gold mine. Your social security number and bank data are their biggest payday of the year. Old antivirus software can't keep up. You need PCmatic. Our default deny technology blocks every single threat that hasn't been pre-approved. If we don't know it, we block it. Secure your return right now. Buy PCmatic antivirus and we will give you PCmatic VPN for free. American-made security for homes, businesses, and government agencies. Visit PCmatic.com.
Have you ever dreamed of getting your business on TV? At GrowAds.com, we produce a high-end TV spot starting at only $950. Then we air your TV spot on major cable networks in your local area, only at GrowAds.com.
Doctors say having a medical emergency kit is like having an urgent care and pharmacy at home. Let me bring in Dr. McCullough to explain more.
Most people know when they're getting sick, but waiting to see a doctor is often too late.
So the key is having medicines before you need them.
Yes, and it includes doctor-prescribed medicines to treat common and serious issues like generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, antibiotics, antivirals for flu, pneumonia, strep, ear and sinus infections, UTIs, and more.
So it is like having an urgent care at home.
Exactly. No waiting, no pharmacy, no copays. You feel better faster and avoid serious complications and hospitalizations.
How do you know what to take?
Just match your symptoms to the doctor-written guide or schedule a quick telehealth call.
Great advice. I understand ordering is fast online, and we've put the website and $45 off code on the screen. Thank you, doctor.
Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code news.
Don't kill your dog.
Oh, hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, Matt.
But what's wrong with this? It's premium stuff.
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means it's ultra-processed at extremely high temperatures that destroy the nutrients in the food. But at Dr. Marty, we gently freeze-dried premium meats, fruit, and vegetables, locking in their nutrients.
Never kibbled.
You got it, kid, and they're gonna love it.
'Cause I'm on top of the world, I'm on top of the world,
Champions trust Cosequin, the #1 vet-recommended retail joint health supplement brand.
We also projected 4 weeks to terminate the military leadership, and as you know, that was done in about an hour, so we're ahead of schedule there by a lot.
Coordinated strikes over the weekend wiping out much of Iran's senior leadership. 49 regime officials killed in the initial strikes on Saturday. Israel had a good look at the group all together, and they said, let's do it. All together in one compound. In addition to the supreme leader, the Ayatollah, regime officials, including head of the military bureau, head of the intelligence, chief of staff of the armed forces, the IRGC commander, head of the Security Council, and the defense minister of Iran, all eliminated in the same bombing, in the same building. That's impressive. U.S. Central Command also announcing all 11 of the Iranian ships in the Gulf of Oman have been destroyed. Kaboom. It goes right there on the screen. With over 1,200 targets hit on the first 48 hours of the war and no clear leadership in sight, the question becomes, what is next for Iran? We've got Rob O'Neill, former U.S. Navy SEAL, joining us now. Dr. Zuhdi Jasser, president of the American Islamic Forum for Democracy. Good to have you both here. Rob, you've got extensive combat experience. Can you grade what we've seen over the last 3 days and just how quickly the job of just neutralizing Iran could go?
Well, if there's a grade higher than an A+, that's what they would get. This is the United States for the first time in a very, very long time proving what we're capable of when we want to. This is a fight now to just completely take them out. There's going to be a regime change, but not boots on the ground. This is a completely different environment. We're fighting now with people in charge who are serious about how the world is working. We're going to smack him really hard. And I mean, he took out the entire headship of Iran. You got to be impressed. President Trump is basically creating jobs everywhere. They got a big spots to fill out there. They got to find out what the regime's going to do. Hopefully there's a little bit of infrastructure in place. But this is a big move because it's, again, a worldwide move, just like Venezuela. This isn't about, I mean, it's about oil, but not our oil. This is taking away a lot of power from China, taking away a lot of their oil. You can't avoid Taiwan without oil and power. It's taking away drones that they make in Iran for Russia as well as their oil. So it worked, pretty much a long weekend for the United States. And now, surprisingly, watch, Russia's going to want to talk. That's what they did. Pretty cool.
That's a great summation. Dr. Jasser, are you confident in Iran's ability to build a stable government if this one does, in fact, finally fall?
Well, I think, what I'm confident of is the fact that we had a massive cancer that was spreading throughout the Middle East over the last 47 years that has been killing our soldiers, killing our citizens, has been attacking through terror groups and proxies. So the patient is better off with the cancer excised and removed. What's going to happen to the patient afterwards? There's three options in Iran. Either the revolution takes over and there's going to be some disorganization, et cetera, that might happen, and the disarmament and removal of ordinances, et cetera, because the people are unarmed. The other option that could happen, God forbid, is the regime stays in place but very weakened. Remember, their economy is completely broken, so they don't have money to pay their generals, et cetera. The third option is just complete disarray with terror groups and other chaos within Iran. So I'm hoping they can take over their government. If anything has shown us history, the arc of the defeat of political Islam now has told 85% of the population in Iran they will not buy back a revolution of Islamists, and they're celebrating with Israel, with America, the defeat of the Islamist clerics. So this is a millennial shift in the Islamic history of only 1,400 years, and that shift is why the Saudis initially didn't want to support the war, but then they were forced into it by the Shia attack upon them. Why didn't the Saudis support it? Because a victory against political Islam, theocratic Islam, also doesn't bode well for the Saudis and other theocrats across the Middle East.
Rob, I think there's a lot of people that I know that are wondering what we're doing in Iran. I think it's a great question. I think it deserves scrutiny to be asked why we did this, why we did it now, from this president especially. The concern, my concern is that it does turn into some kind of a political liability, even though this is a much better culture than places like Afghanistan? These, a much more, these people have a common thread. They have a history. It's not a bunch of different tribes. Do you feel confident that this can be a good story once this regime falls, that we can walk away?
And the issue right now, too, is it's going to take a couple of days. I mean, for lack of a better term, for the dust to settle. I was just talking to an Iranian special forces guy in Europe 2 days ago. He's getting the word on the ground. Yeah, this is going to work and it's going to be fine. But we got to it's going to get political no matter what. I think it was this fast. I'm sorry to say it because the midterms are coming up. We got to hit them now and see a little bit of progress summer before the midterms because we know how politics gets. But just listening to Dr. Jasser just now, he's the guy you want to listen to. He's the expert in this area, too, and he understands the political Islam and also how we're going to need to move forward and live together. But having Iran, especially the Persians and the Iranians coming together to the table, this is a big shift for the entire world. I think we're in a great reset right now.
Dr. Jasser, just finishing thoughts. Go ahead.
Well, I have to tell you, I think ultimately, if you are America first and you're for the end of forever wars, this is the short investment. We're not putting boots on the ground, and it will allow a millennial shift in what's happening on the ground. Will it be disorganized? It's certainly, if you're looking at what party to vote for, it's certainly different than sending $6 billion to the clerics that then fed October 7, fed a genocide against Israel, and continued to attack our troops, our ships, etc. So the choice is clear on what impact this could have on the midterms, and that's why I'm running for Congress.
I'm optimistic that if you get rid of Iran, if you get rid of this tumor, that we won't need such presence in the Middle East, and that this could be a much more peaceful place. It could be wonderful for, if you want to think that way in America first, if you want to bring these boys home and not need all that this is the start of potentially a much brighter future for that part of the world and for us as well. Good to have you both on, Rob O'Neill and Dr. Jasser. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Rob.
Thanks.
You knew that she was going to say something stupid about all this.
Donald Trump is facing very low numbers and the Epstein files that are not, and we will not let go away.
This is the story of the one who knows well-prepared workdays take off smoothly and land right on time. That's why he counts on Grainger. With next-day delivery and professional-grade products, Grainger helps ensure he, his crew, and thousands of passengers fly through the day like clockwork. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The Wall Street Journal said silver could be the trade of a decade.
Eric Sprott said $250 to $500 an ounce is entirely possible.
Gold recently surpassed its inflation-adjusted all-time high. Silver's inflation-adjusted all-time high is $209 an ounce.
And silver went up 1,300% from 1974 to 1980. Silver's got a lot of room to run.
Give Patriot Gold Group a call at 1-800-778-4156.
Patriot Gold Group is Consumer Affairs' top-rated gold and silver dealer nationwide. The only firm nationwide where you, the client, work directly with an owner, home of the No Fee for Life IRA. See how easy it is to protect your IRA with physical gold and silver.
Call now, 1-800-778-4156.
Did you know about 1 in 3 people with plaque psoriasis may also develop psoriatic arthritis? With fewer symptoms from moderate to severe plaque psoriasis, where would you go? Imagine being 1,000,000 miles away. With Tremfya, clearer skin is possible. And for adults with active psoriatic arthritis, Tremfya goes beyond the skin. Less joint pain, stiffness, and swelling is possible. And Tremfya even reduced fatigue. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and TB. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Imagine being 1,000,000 miles away. Ask your doctor about Tremfya.
He's breathing. Okay,
Again?
Nearly 5,000 people die from choking each year. That's frightening. I'm Dr. Ben Carson.
And I'm Arthur Lee. Well, there are ways to help prevent choking. Accidents do happen. That's why I invented the Life Pack.
Anyone can use this device, and it can save a life in seconds.
Just place, push, and pull. It's that simple. Please order one for your home, office, car, anywhere you eat.
Go to lifehack.net or call 877-543-3822.
The grind catches up with everyone, even me. That's why I trust Cunol Ultra High Absorption Turmeric to support my joint health. It's the #1 doctor-recommended form of turmeric. It helps you keep doing the things you love at every age. Cunol, the brand I trust.
Hello, everyone. It's President Donald J. Trump, and it's Trump time. Check out this red beauty. It's one of my new watches. Wear it proudly on your wrist, and everyone will know exactly what it's for, who it represents. It's really going to be something special. It's for your favorite president. Get your watch today at gettrumpwatches.com. Please make a great gift. It's Trump time.
You're looking at Carvana's newest and proudest customer. So proud that we're teaming up to create Shackvana. Shackvana will be 100% online so customers can shop from anywhere.
That's so Shackvana.
Visit Shackvana or Carvana and buy your car today.
Welcome back. Time now for news from the left. Our left-wing rags mourning the end of the Islamic regime in Iran. New York Times publishing their obituary on the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, hardline cleric who made Iran a regional power, is dead at 86. They just can't they can't help but do this every time a terrible person dies. The piece describes the Ayatollah: spectacles, Palestinian keffiyeh, long robes and silver beard. Ayatollah Khamenei casts himself as a religious scholar as well as a writer and translator of works on Islam. Boy, that's a wonderful euphemism of a terrible life. The Washington Post's version in their obituary writing, with his bushy white beard and easy smile. Are you kidding me? Ayatollah Khamenei cut a more avuncular figure, nerd word, in public than his perpetually scowling but much more revered mentor. And he was known to be fond of Persian poetry and classic Western novels, especially Victor Hugo's Les Miserables. They can't help themselves. They love these people. They love it. Next up, The View bringing in guest host Elizabeth Hasselbeck, a much stronger actual conservative voice than Alyssa Griffin, who's been out for a while. Hasselbeck hammering Ana Navarro today on this war. Take a listen.
I look at Donald Trump and I look at Netanyahu and I see two leaders who I think politically they benefit from war. Donald Trump is facing very low numbers and Epstein files that are not, and we will not let go away.
We have 47 million Iranian women who now have a hope of freedom. We have a disgusting terrorist regime ended. They've cut the oil supply from Venezuela, and they've now reduced it and choked the oil supply to China in Iran.
Nicely done. Reminding Ana Navarro just how dumb she is. Nice to see somebody with an actual opposing viewpoint on the show. Navarro not the only one with the dummy take. Congressman Thomas Massie, who we've talked to many times on this show, bombing a country on the other side of the globe won't make the Epstein files go away any more than the Dow going above 50,000 will. You can hate this war all you want. This has nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. And by the way, did you hear Bill Clinton, when he was deposed last week, talking about Trump and fully exonerating the president? How much more do you need? And finally, the Columbia University Apartheid Group, an anti-Israel student group at this miserable campus here in Upper Manhattan, behind the organized campus encampments and all the chaos when Gaza was invaded and all that nonsense. Remember all that? They reacted to the Ayatollah's death, saying Marg Bar America, which means death to America in Farsi. So you have a radical group inside of our country wishing death to the country. The post removed on X, the group doubling down, saying they forced us to remove the tweet, but saying that the sentiment still stands. The university responding to the post in a statement on X, saying the group that calls itself Quad is not a recognized student group. Okay, they're not a recognized student group, but you still let them wreak havoc all over your campus and chase your Jewish students and terrorize them because you were so afraid of offending, people that side with Gaza? Pitiful leadership at Columbia University. Coming up here after the break, we go all the way back to World War II. An amazing honor today at the White House. Wait till you hear this man's story.
You know Rob Finnerty. He's smart, bold, and stands strong for your values. Rob is fighting for you. Watch Finnerty weeknights only on Newsmax.
Why are so many dogs dying before their time? In my experience, great health starts with great food. That's why I created Badlands Ranch Superfood Complete. It contains powerful canine superfoods that directly support your dog's digestion, skin and coat, mobility, and so much more.
And it's air dried. That means cooked low and slow, no high heat.
We have thousands of 5-star reviews. And for a limited time, get up to 50% off with our special TV offer. Go to badlandsranch.com/TV. That's badlandsranch.com/TV.
Joining us is Dr. Drew from the Wellness Company with advice for dealing with seasonal colds and flu. Doctor?
Cold and flu season is here, and every year you or a loved one gets sick. Your doctor can't see you. Waiting in a crowded urgent care is brutal. This is a particularly bad cold and flu season, and it's why doctors suggest every family needs an emergency medical kit. Your medical emergency kit is filled with essential prescriptions. It includes antibiotics like generic Z-Pak to get well faster, amoxicillin for pneumonia, strep throat, ear infections, plus prescriptions for nausea and UTIs, and even ivermectin. It's easy. Just match your symptoms to the prescription in your guidebook or call the telemedicine doctor standing by. Take your medication early and feel better faster. Having a medical emergency kit is like having an urgent care in your home. No waiting to see a doctor, no lines at the pharmacy.
Smart advice. We've shared the website and discount code below to save viewers $45. Order now and your kit will be rushed to your door. Thank you, doctor.
All right, look, you build up equity in your home, and now you need some cash. But deciding which lender to go with can be such a pain. I mean, they have different rates, different rules. So that's where Lingo comes in.
I called them and it only took 2 minutes.
You just answer a few quick questions.
And they told me which options work best based on my info. Simple and fast.
So if you're thinking about tapping into your home equity with a HELOC, just go to Lingo, and you'll thank me later.
Call 844-766-REFI today. Lingo, where homeowners go to get cash.
All right, finally tonight, the president hosting a ceremony at the White House today. It was a good one, awarding the Medal of Honor to 3 U.S. Army soldiers. One of the members, Army Master Sergeant Roddy Edmonds, who was honored posthumously. The man saved hundreds of Jewish American soldiers from the Nazis during World War II. The story is incredible. Trump telling the story of a courageous man, this man, Edmonds, who was the highest ranking American being held at a German POW camp after being captured during the Battle of the Bulge. You had all these American soldiers captured in the Battle of the Bulge. They're all taken to a POW camp. He's the highest ranking. He was ordered to separate Jewish American prisoners from all the others, and he knew that that would mean certain death for the Jewish American soldiers, so he refused to do it, even when a Nazi put a gun to his head. Take a look.
The next morning, all 1,200 American men fell in line together. The Nazi commandant rushed forward, drew his Luger pistol, and pressed the barrel between Sergeant Edmonds' eyes. He barked at Roddy. "They cannot all be Jews," Sergeant Edmonds replied fearlessly. "We are all Jews here." The Nazi officer lowered his weapon and the soldiers erupted in cheers. With total disregard for his own life, Roddy had saved over 200 of his fellow service members.
You see that? They said, we just want the Jews to come over here for a second. There's a couple hundred of them, and he said, all right, well, we all go. They all went, and that's an amazing, amazing story. A posthumous Medal of Honor there from the president, Army Master Sergeant Roddy Edmonds. To your family, if you're watching, thank you so much, and what a wonderful moment. Finnerty is up next, and quite a news day.
Yeah, I'll tell you, honestly, good to see you, Rob, by the way. It's funny, our offices are probably 30 feet apart. I don't think I saw you. I yelled at you once, middle of the day. I said, what's going on? But I always think Donald Trump gets the easy parts of being president right every time. Joe Biden never did this kind of stuff, and Donald Trump does it, and you see it, and you're like, that's what the leader of the free world.
It was a cool ceremony.
Yeah.
It really was.
Good to see you, Rob.
See you.
Finnerty starts right now.